This tutorial will tell you how to apply for accommodation for staying on campus at the University of Hertfordshire. You can apply for accommodation once you have a conditional offer and your 8-digit student ID. You can check the accommodation types on our website at www.herts.ac.uk. You can navigate to the accommodation section of the website by using the search button. This page shows you the different types of accommodation and the features that you will get in that type of accommodation. It'll also show you the campus that that type of accommodation is on. For more pricing information and to check the prices for your entry year, you can scroll down further and open up the pop-out. When you reach the stage where you are ready to apply for your accommodation, which we recommend doing as soon as you can then follow the links to make your application. You'll need to first register for an account to set up your accommodation application. To register for on-campus accommodation, you'll need your 8-digit student ID, your surname or family name as shown on your Hertfordshire offer letter, and your date of birth as shown on your offer letter. Now, we're going to run through these steps with you with a test profile. So our student ID, we'll input that now. Remember to input your date of birth in the format day, day, month, month, year, year. And then click the register button. This will then open up a new page for you, which will have already populated some of your details. So you can check that these are correct as you go through the application. There'll also be some instructions on creating your account. Now, please remember to use your individual personal email address when you're making your accommodation application. This email address needs to be one that only you will use so that there's no duplicates in the system. You also need to make sure that you're not using your school email address if your school has provided you with one, as these are genuinely cancelled when you leave school in July. So make sure that you are using your personal email address so that you can still access the accommodation portal. Please remember not to use your agent's email address as you may miss important information. You now need to create your password. You'll need to remember this password throughout the accommodation application and also in future when you receive your offer of accommodation. So the password requires at least one capital letter, one lowercase letter, and one number. Once you've inputted your password, you can also view your password if you want to make sure that you've typed in what you thought you were typing in. And then once you're happy, you can click register. Once you've clicked register, you'll get the message that your account has been created. You can now go log in and start your application for your accommodation. You'll have also received an email that will have been sent to the email address you used to make your accommodation registration. You can now use the login to your account button for the next step. You will have received an email from acconline@hearts.ac.uk. This is the residential allocations team, and the email will be titled "Thank you for registering." This also includes a link for you to start your accommodation application and also sends you a reminder of your username, which is your 8-digit student ID. So now we're back to this page on the residences.heart.ac.uk section of the website, and we can now use the login side. So we type in our username, which is our 8-digit student ID, and the password that we created when we made our registration. Remember, you can use the view button to check that you've typed your password in correctly. Once you've put your login details in, you can then press login. If you do lock yourself out because you've put the wrong password in too many times, you do need to wait at least 5 minutes before you can try again. So that's why it's important to remember your password. Then click the login button. We can now start our accommodation application inside the accommodation portal. You can click on the Create Application button. You can now input some of your personal details. So, is your course full-time or part-time? And then you can also answer some further questions. Is this your first year studying at the University of Hertfordshire? So some of you may be returning students who have already done the first year of their course. You're coming back for your second year. Most of you watching this tutorial will be joining the University of Hertfordshire for the first time. Will you be an undergraduate student, postgraduate, a continuing student? So that's again if you're returning to do your second or third year, an associate college student, or PGCE. And the system does save your answer once you click each one. Now, this last question here, what is your period of study? If you are joining us for the January intake, and that's your start, then you'll be clicking on Semester B only. We can now put in our contact details. So you'll need to add in your home address. These are our demonstration details here, so make sure that you're putting in your correct home address if it's not already displayed. You'll also need to input your mobile number and confirm if you would like to receive marketing emails. You'll then need to put in some next of kin details, which would only be used in an emergency. So these would usually be a family member that you would like us to contact in case of any emergency on your behalf. If they live at the same address you've already put in here, you can tick this box. You can then choose to upload a profile picture if you have one available. You then need to put in any medical information. So do you have a disability that would affect the type of accommodation you require? For example, do you need a more accessible room? You can then put in any additional information as well. If there's anything else that you feel is important that you wish to make the accommodation team aware of, or if you would be applying as a group. So if you have other friends that are coming to the University of Hertfordshire and you're hoping that you'll be able to live together in the same accommodation. So if we click yes, if you've selected yes, you do need to provide further information. For example, if you want to be applying as a group, enter the text group application. So you would just need to type group application in this text box. Now, because this is a demonstration profile, I'm actually going to change this to no because we won't have any other test profiles that are coming through in our group application. And then we'll click the continue button. You can check that the details are correct. So we've said we want to apply for undergraduate accommodation and group application. Did you wish to apply as a group, up to 6 people, or individually? So again, if you have a group of friends who are coming to Hertfordshire with you and you are hoping to live in the same accommodation with them, you can apply that you wish to form a new group application. If somebody in your group has already done their application and has an existing group code, you can select this button and put in the group code. For us, we're just applying as an individual and we'll be paired with other Hertfordshire students for our accommodation. We then get to the room preferences page. This is where you can select your preferences so the accommodation team know which types of room you want to stay in. You need to select 5 preferences. There's a bit of information here for you to read through regarding contract lengths and pricing, and also a bit of information about the campuses that the rooms will be on. Take your time to read through this page. Now, the team do ask you to choose 5 preferences in no particular order. When they're allocating a room, they'll always try to place you in an available room from your choices and try and meet your preferences as well. Unfortunately, it's not guaranteed, but the earlier you apply, the more likely it is that your preferences will be available. So we can scroll down and view the different room types. If you know there's a particular type of room that you want, you can use these filters as well. So you can select the campus that you want to stay on, the type of room, or you can sort by as well. When viewing the rooms, you can check through the facilities of the room types. So you can see which areas will be shared for that particular room type, what type of features there will be in the room and the shared facilities as well. You can also check the further information and you can view some images of the room. There'll also be floor plans to show you a rough idea of the typical room type floor plan. So in this floor plan, we can see this room is an ensuite room with the shower facilities and the washroom facilities, storage and a desk and the bed as well. So you can view that for each room type. This screen will tell you which campus the rooms are on, the price of that room, and also the contract lengths as well. There's plenty to choose from, so do take your time on this section. You can now click if you want to compare rooms. You need to be on the Preference Details tab, and you can click a few rooms to help you compare and make your choices. Use the View Comparisons button. And here we can see a quick snapshot of a summary of each room, along with the contract length, the price, and also the room type as well. To make your 5 preferences, you need to select 5 room types and add them to your basket. You can see the summary of your basket to check that you've added the 5 rooms that you wanted to add. These will be your preference rooms that you're letting the accommodation team know you would be happy to stay in. You then need to tick that you understand that your preferences may not be guaranteed. The accommodation team will always try their best to get you into one of your preference types, and the earlier you make your application, the more likely it is that your preferred room choices will still be available. You can then click the Continue button. You'll now be asked for some additional information to go along with your preferences. Would you prefer single-sex accommodation? Would you be happy to share with other postgraduate students? Or do you have no preferences and you're happy to share with any University of Hertfordshire students? Would you like a room in a show flat? So this means, would you allow us to show people around your room and flat to prospective students for an incentive? Again, you can select your preference. And you also need to select what is the most important to you about your room allocation. So again, you can select no preference. The location, would your preference be to be on College Lane or de Havilland, the single sex accommodation, or sharing with mature students? Again, if you don't mind, you can put no preference. And then click the Next button. You can then review your application, make sure that all the details are correct that you have inputted throughout the application portal, and then you can also see a summary of your room options as well. You then need to confirm that the above details are correct and that you wish to complete your application. You also need to select that you are aware that should you be offered a room, in order to accept that offer, you will need to pay a security deposit and set up a payment plan to pay the accommodation fees throughout the year. You do need to action this second bit within a 7-day period when you receive your offer back of your room to secure that room offer. You can then press the Submit button. You'll now be presented with a screen that confirms that your application has been sent to the accommodation team. They'll send you an email of confirmation which you should receive within 24 hours. If you don't receive that, please contact accommodation@hearts.ac.uk. You've now submitted your accommodation application and need to wait for a response. You'll receive your offer of accommodation via an email from the accommodation team. You can keep an eye out for this. It'll come from accommodation@hearts.ac.uk, and the subject of the email will be offer of accommodation. The email will give you a reminder of your student ID number, and it'll also detail the room that you have been allocated. So this room will be a townhouse in Bellingham Court. There's also a reminder of the cost of the accommodation and the deposit that you will need to pay. It also tells you the dates that the room will be available to you. Make sure that you read through this accommodation email to ensure that you understand all of the points that you need to do next. You'll need to log back into your accommodation portal at residences.hearts.ac.uk to accept the terms and conditions to secure the room. You'll also need to pay that deposit of £100 to secure the room and set up your payment plan. You'll then need to digitally sign and date your acceptance. You must complete these 5 steps within the deadline that has been set for you, which is usually 7 days, in order to secure that offer of the room. If you don't do it in time for the deadline, your offer of accommodation will be cancelled and you'll have to reapply. You might not be able to get an offer of the same room depending when you reapply if the room you were initially offered has now been offered to another student. There's also a reminder on here that if you want to purchase a bedding pack ready waiting for you at the university, you can also do this at the e-shop as well. So we're now going to go to residences.hearts.ac.uk to accept our offer of accommodation. Here's the page, and we again log into our portal with your student ID and the password that you created when you registered for your accommodation account. So this time when we're logging in, we can see that this button is now available, your offer, because we've been made an offer for our room. We get a notification that our application has been successful and also a reminder that we need to pay our £100 deposit to secure the room. So we'll click here to view our offer. We now get a summary of the offer of the room that we've been allocated. Again, you can see your details here, the room type, the block, the site, and also the start and end date, the fees, and the deposit required. There's also some terms and conditions that you can read through, and a reminder that you have a 7 working day cooling off period. You need to check to confirm that you've read and agree to the terms and conditions, which you can access through this link. You then press continue. We now get to the page where it reminds us about the deposit. It also gives you a bit of information about what the deposit is for, and you can choose to pay this online. If you've already paid your deposit, you can also put information in here and indicate that you've paid via other means. Most of our new students who are completing their accommodation portal will now go to the Pay Online button. As this is a tutorial, we're going to click that we've paid via other means already. We now get taken to a new page where we can check through everything. Make sure you take the time to read this, and then you'll also be asked what payment plan you want to set up. So you can set up a full payment plan, a termly payment plan, or you can indicate that you have paid via other means. Once you've selected the payment plan that is right for you, you can then press the continue button. This again gives you a summary of the contract that you're agreeing to for your accommodation and a reminder of what you've been allocated. You'll then scroll down to the terms and conditions. Make sure that you read through these. There's also a link here so you can read through that as well. And once you're happy, you need to check these 3 boxes to confirm that you've read everything, you understand everything, and you're happy to take out the accommodation contract. You then need to digitally sign to confirm the contract. Again, remember that your offer is only valid for 7 days from when you've received that email, so do make sure that you are keeping an eye out for that email when it comes through. And we input our student ID in here again, and our date of birth again in the format day, day, month, month, year, 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 year. And we press the accept button. This offer has now been accepted by you, and that room has been confirmed for you. You can return to the hub to complete your induction. So we can now return to the hub and log back in to do the induction. So because I'm doing this straight after, I'm still logged in. If you're doing this the day after or later on in the day, you'll need to log back in to your accommodation portal, again at residences.hearts.ac.uk. So you'll now see that you've got the induction button ready. So this should take you about 10 to 15 minutes to complete. You need to make sure that you read through everything, take your time, just so you understand what's expected of you for your on-campus accommodation. If you do not complete the induction prior to coming to pick up your room keys, you will have to do so at the arrival location, which will lead to delays in obtaining your keys. So please make sure that you complete this from home before you travel to the UK. So you'll need to work through these induction pages, make sure that you read them all. I'm going to click through them now, just because when you have your offer, you'll need to work through them at your own pace. The third page also advises you about planning your arrival and booking your slot. So this is just for students arriving in September only. If you're arriving for January, then this part won't be relevant to you. We need to check the box to confirm we've read and understood the arrival dates application before proceeding. And then you also need to put in information about your arrival date, your time, and your flight number if applicable. We know that not everybody will be flying to the UK, some of you may already be here, so input the dates that are applicable to you. There's then a reminder about the contract that you're taking out, so make sure you read through this as well. There's also some information next about the medical centre, bit of vaccination information. You need to make sure that you have understood and read through all that too. You should also watch this safety video. Again, I'm going to watch this, not part of this recording, just because you need to make sure that you watch this in your own time when you're signing up to your accommodation. So we can now see I've watched the video offline, and after 4 minutes and watching the video, this continue button will appear. You must make sure you watch the safety video around fire awareness. There's also then a questionnaire that you need to fill in. You need to make sure that you understand these questions. So again, I'm not going to fill in this questionnaire as part of the video, because you need to make sure that you are filling in the answers that you've learnt from the video. Once you've filled in your questionnaire, press the Continue button. So after you've completed your fire safety questionnaire and submitted your answers, you'll then be taken to the next page, which includes a link to the handbook about living on campus. You can follow that link to read through the handbook, and you must then click the tick box to confirm you've read and understood the handbook. There's then a few more tips for you to read through, some links to relevant web pages as well. Make sure that you click through all the links because this will make sure that you know exactly what to expect when you're arriving. And there's also some excellent contact information for the student support teams as well. Now your induction is complete. There's a reminder of how to purchase a bedding pack as well. For international students, this is great because it means you don't have to travel with your bedding. You can buy it and have it ready for when you arrive at Hearts. So follow that link if you do want to purchase one. The next page will take you to your arrival pass. This is your key collection pass. Make sure that you keep this safe as well. And it'll have your details, a barcode for the teams at Hearts to scan, and also a reminder of your key collection point and the estimated arrival date and arrival time that you filled in during this session. There's then the option for you to print this out so you can bring it with you when you're arriving at Hearts. If you want to check before you arrive where your key collection point will be, the team have put down some handy map links here. So you can open these maps and check for the locations such as the Oval or the Residential Services Office. So make sure that you have a look at those so you can prepare for your journey. So when I've pressed the Print the Pass button, it'll then load and give you the option to either save it as a PDF or print it out. We would recommend saving it as a PDF as well so that you can make sure it's on your phone. You might also choose to print out a copy so that you can take this in your hand luggage with you as well. And then you can save it to your device. After saving or printing your pass, you can then return to the hub page. You can now see that your induction and your key collection pass are available for you. So if you do want to go back and re-watch or read anything in the induction, you can do so within your accommodation portal. We hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. If you do have any questions about your accommodation, please feel free to contact the accommodation team at accommodation@hearts.ac.uk. Remember to include your student ID number so that they can access your details. Thank you.